So imagine you are sitting there staring right into your webcam. You just gave this brilliant, totally textbook answer about data analysis.
Right, you feel pretty good about it.
Exactly. You expect the interviewer to smile, maybe nod and move on to the next topic. But instead, this AI voice immediately asks you to name the exact chemical solvent you used in some minor college lab report from 10 years ago.
Oh, wow, yeah. And the clock is just ticking.
That is the exact moment panic sets in for a lot of people, because so many candidates sit down for these interviews thinking, well, I already know it's an AI interview, so I know what to expect.
Yeah, they check their microphone, they adjust their room lighting, and they feel totally confident.
But they completely underestimate what is actually happening behind the screen. The real difficulty is not that you are talking to a machine. The problem is how incredibly fast a simple question can turn into a highly specific, high-pressure follow-up question.
It happens so fast, too.
It really does. So today, we're exploring exactly what happens when you face an AI recruitment platform, specifically looking at systems like Micro1. We want to show you how these platforms process your words, why they trap so many smart people, and how you can actually prepare for them.
I like to compare the AI interviewer to a perfectly focused detective.
A detective, I like that.
Yeah, because it does not just read a static script of multiple choice questions. It actively listens to you. It looks for clues in your answers, and it builds a case file on you in real time.
Right.
If you leave out a detail, the detective will notice, and it will investigate that gap immediately.
That is a really powerful way to picture it. It is like talking to an infinitely patient prosecutor. You think you are just making casual conversation, but the system is actually building a cross-examination.
Exactly. And that interrogation really starts with the core evidence you handed over, which is your resume.
Right. Before the AI can push you on complex technical problems, it needs to establish your baseline.
It has to verify your identity and your history. So the interview often opens with a very soft question. It might just say, "Hello, how are you today?"
Which seems super friendly.
It does, but it is actually a technical calibration. The system is just checking your audio quality. It is measuring your microphone volume. Once it confirms it can hear you clearly, it moves right into a familiar prompt. Tell me about yourself.
But this is where the AI detective shows its first trick, right? Because a human might ask that question and just let you ramble about your hobbies or your weekend.
Right, but the AI does not want a generic summary of your life.
Yeah.
It dynamically generates this opening question based on the exact CV you uploaded.
Okay, so give us an example of how that sounds.
Sure. Let her say your resume says you were a senior marketing manager. The AI will not just say, "Tell me about yourself." It will say, "Tell me about your role as a senior marketing manager at your last company and what specific metrics you use to measure campaign success."
Oh, wow. So it immediately ties it to your actual work experience.
Exactly. It uses your own document to build the question.
Yeah.
So your strategy here must be strict consistency. You have to keep your answer structured.
So no random fluff.
No fluff at all. Do not talk about your weekend plans. Give a clear professional summary of the skills you already told the system you have. You want to match the data the AI has already processed.
Okay, so you build trust by matching your spoken words to your written resume. But then the detective looks closer because the AI has a perfect, flawless memory of your document, right?
Flawless. It can read and analyze thousands of words in a second.
Which means it can ask hyper-specific questions about very old or very minor details.
And this is exactly where candidates often freeze. Let us say you listed 2 native languages on your resume. The AI might ask you to explain the specific regional or dialect differences between those 2 languages.
Wow.
Or going back to your opening example, suppose you uploaded an academic resume. You included a small research paper you wrote 10 years ago. The AI might actually ask you about the exact temperature you used in that 10-year-old experiment.
See, a human recruiter would almost never do that. A human just scans a resume for keywords and moves on.
Right, but the AI reads every single word and stores it in its active memory.
Yeah.
So the lesson here is simple. You must know every single detail on your resume.
Every single one.
Yeah, if you list a skill, a past project, or an old paper, you must be fully prepared to explain it. If it is on the paper, it is fair game for the machine.
But wait, let me push back on this a little bit. We live in a world where everyone uses technology to write. What if someone uses an AI tool, like maybe formatting their resume with a generator before applying?
That is a very common concern.
Because many people do that just to make their CV look professional, Will the system penalize them for using AI to write their resume?
The short answer is no. You will not be penalized for clean formatting. In fact, having a cleanly formatted resume is highly recommended.
Really?
Yeah, it makes it much easier for the platform to actually read your data. The rule is simply about honesty.
So the formatting can be synthetic, but the facts must be real.
Exactly. These models are specifically trained to spot when data points do not logically connect. You can use a tool to make your real experience sound highly professional. You just cannot use a tool to invent an experience you do not actually have.
Because if you lie, the follow-up questions will easily break your story.
They absolutely will.
That makes perfect sense. So once the AI is satisfied that your resume is not entirely fictional, the logical next step is stress testing those claims.
Right. It has to figure out if you can actually do the job.
Exactly. Can you write the code, build the models, or lead the teams you talked about? That shifts the entire dynamic from a friendly chat into a highly technical scenario.
This is the real stress test. These scenario-based questions test your daily workflow. They test your problem-solving skills. And most importantly, they test your ability to explain complex ideas simply.
The AI wants to see how you think when faced with a real, messy problem.
Yes. Let us look at a concrete example. If you are applying as a back-end software developer, the AI might ask a very detailed question. It might say, how would you approach diagnosing and resolving a random high-latency issue in a production system involving multiple databases?
Okay, that is intense.
Or, if you are a Python developer, it might ask, what are the best practices for memory management in applications processing large data sets?
Right. These are not simple questions. You cannot just answer them with a yes or a no. They require a logical process.
Exactly. And you probably already know the STAR method from traditional human interviews, right?
Yes. Situation, task, action, and result.
Right. But with an AI interviewer, using the STAR method is not just good practice. It is actually a technical necessity.
Wait, a necessity? Why?
Understanding why is the secret to passing these interviews. When you talk, the AI is looking for logical structures. It is mapping your words.
So when you structure your answer chronologically, starting with the situation, then explaining your action, and finishing with the result, you are basically feeding the AI perfectly formatted data arrays.
Yes, you make it mathematically easier for the AI's algorithm to check the boxes on its grading rubric. It maps your narrative perfectly to what it considers a good answer.
But I have to admit, knowing a machine is mathematically mapping my words sounds terrifying.
I know, it does sound scary.
What if I just forget one minor technical term? Let us say I know exactly how to fix that database issue, but because I am nervous, I forget the exact name of a specific software tool. Will the AI just fail me immediately? Is it grading me like a spelling test?
No, and that is a massive relief for candidates. The AI is not just looking for a single keyword. The system transcribes your voice into text in real time. Then it uses something called chain of thought processing.
Chain of thought processing. Can you break that down into plain English for us?
Sure. Imagine the AI is reading the transcript of your answer. It is looking for a continuous chain of logic. It wants to see if you can identify the main problem first.
All right.
Then it wants to see if you propose a realistic solution. And finally, it checks if you can explain why that solution makes sense.
So it evaluates your reasoning skills.
Exactly. It does not demand perfect memorization of trivia. If you forget one specific term, but your overall step-by-step logic is sound, you will still score very well.
Okay, that changes my whole perspective. It is grading my thinking, not just my memory. It wants to see how I connect the dots.
Yes, but this brings us to the absolute hardest part of the interview.
Right, because answering that first technical question is one thing. But the interview becomes instantly harder when the AI starts testing the boundaries of your answer.
This is where the detective really corners you in the interrogation room. The AI actively listens to everything you say. If you give a vague answer, it will dig deeper.
It wants to find out what you really know.
Let us look at a basic example. Let us say the AI asks about your data skills. You simply say, I used Excel to analyze data.
In a normal interview, a human might just nod. They might want to keep the conversation moving.
But the AI does not care about keeping things moving. It will immediately ask, what specific functions did you use in Excel?
And it does not stop there, right?
Not at all. When you name a function, like a pivot table, the AI will ask, can you give a real-world example of when you used a pivot table and what the measurable results were?
It just keeps digging. Why do so many candidates struggle with this specific part of the process?
There are three main reasons candidates fail here. First, they give vague answers. When you use empty statements like, I am a hard worker or I am good at Excel, you give the AI no logical details to work with.
So because it lacks specific data, it is forced to push you harder to get those details.
Exactly. Second, candidates have weak resume knowledge. As we mentioned, they get caught in memory lapses when the follow-up questions target specific past projects.
And the third reason is something we call the silence trap. This is huge.
Oh, this catches so many people.
Let us say you get a really hard follow-up question. You need a moment to think. In a normal interview, you might sit in silence. You look up at the ceiling. You are forming your answer in your head.
Right. The human interviewer can see you thinking.
But the AI platform relies on voice activity detection.
Yes. It only registers audio input. If the AI hears total silence for several seconds, it assumes you are completely done speaking.
And then what?
It will abruptly cut you off, record your answer as finished, and move right to the next question.
That is devastating. You were just thinking of a brilliant answer, and suddenly the interview moves on. You lose your chance entirely.
It happens all the time.
So how do we survive this follow-up pressure? How do we beat the silence trap?
We have 3 practical strategies. First, give slightly more detail in your initial answers. Feed the AI good information right away.
Okay.
If you provide a specific example in your first answer, the AI already has its data. It does not have to ask a difficult follow-up question.
That is smart. And second, to avoid the silence trap, you must learn to speak to pause.
Yes, speak to pause.
If you need time to think, you have to literally narrate your thought process out loud. Say things like, let me think for a second to find the best example. Or say, that is a complex question. Give me a moment to structure my thoughts.
This continuous audio tells the system you are still there. It keeps the microphone active. That tip alone will save your interview.
Absolutely. And the third strategy is equally powerful. If a question is confusing, ask the AI to rephrase it. Ask the AI to provide an example.
These systems handle clarification very well.
A lot of candidates think they have to answer the prompt immediately, even if they do not understand it. They think asking for help makes them look weak.
But asking for clarification actually shows critical thinking. It shows you want to fully understand the problem before you try to solve it.
Exactly. To show you exactly how these strategies work in real time, let us do a practical role play.
That's how you do.
We will show you what a messy, realistic interaction looks like under the pressure of follow-up questions. I will act as the candidate. You act as the Micro1 AI interviewer.
Sounds good.
I am sitting at my computer. The microphone is on. Let us begin.
Hello. Please explain your strategy for ensuring data stays consistent across multiple geographic regions.
Okay, just to be sure I am answering correctly, are we talking about highly sensitive financial data, or are we talking about general user profile data?
Let us assume it is general user profile data.
Thank you. For general user profile data, I would use a strategy of eventual consistency. Since the data is not highly sensitive, like a bank transfer, it does not need to be updated in every region at the exact same millisecond. I would allow the databases to sync in the background. This keeps the application running very fast for the user while ensuring the data becomes consistent across all regions shortly after.
That makes sense. Can you provide a specific example of a time you implemented this eventual consistency strategy and what the measurable result was?
Wow. Okay, that is a highly specific question. Let me think for just a second to pull up the right project. Okay, yes. At my last startup, we had users in Europe and Asia. The situation was that our load times were too slow. My task was to speed up the login process. The action I took was implementing a background sync for profile pictures and basic text data. The result was a 30% faster login time across both regions.
Okay, let us step out of the role play and break down exactly what just happened.
Phew, that felt intense, even just practicing it.
But you handled it perfectly. Let us analyze your opening. I asked a very broad technical question. Instead of guessing the context, you used the clarification strategy.
Right, I asked if it was financial data or user data.
Doing that accomplished 2 important things. First, it showed confidence. It demonstrated that you understand different types of data require totally different engineering solutions.
And second, it actually gave my brain a few extra seconds to think while the AI was speaking.
It is a brilliant strategic pause. Then you answered the initial question simply. You avoided heavy, confusing jargon. You explained the concept in a way that was logical and easy to follow.
Right, I gave the why, saying it keeps the application fast.
But the AI detective did not stop there. Even though your first answer was solid, I immediately hit you with a follow-up. I demanded a specific real-world example. I wanted a measurable result.
Yes. The system's chain of thought logic immediately demanded proof. It needed to know if I just read a textbook definition, or if I actually did the work.
And this is where you use the most important technique. You were hit with a hard question. You needed time to remember a project. So you use the speak to pause method.
I said, wow, okay, let me think for a second. If I had just sat there in silence for 5 seconds trying to remember my old startup, the voice activity detection would have cut me off.
Exactly. The interview would have moved on. By narrating your thinking, you bought yourself crucial time. You kept the microphone open.
And when I finally answered, I naturally fell right back into the STAR method.
You gave me the situation, task, action, and result. You fed the AI perfectly formatted data arrays.
That role play really highlights how fast the interview moves. You cannot just memorize definitions. You have to be ready to prove your experience with structured stories.
It also proves that the AI is not trying to trick you. It does not have emotions. It is just verifying your depth of knowledge. If you stay calm, structure your answers, and provide clear examples, you will easily satisfy the system.
Let us bring all of this together. Surviving an AI interview really comes down to preparation and clear, structured communication. First, know every single word on your resume.
Yes. The AI has perfect memory, and it will use your past against you if you stretch the truth.
Second, prepare real-world examples using the STAR method. Practice structuring your stories logically so you are never caught empty-handed when the follow-up questions hit.
Third, remember that the system is turning your spoken words into text. It is looking for a logical path. Speak clearly, explain your reasoning, and show your chain of thought.
Fourth, never fall into the silence trap. Do not be afraid to pause by speaking. Narrate your thoughts out loud to keep the system actively listening.
And finally, confidently ask the AI for clarification if a prompt is too vague. It buys you time and proves you possess strong critical thinking skills.
It is a completely new way to interview. It is totally normal to feel nervous when you log on and see a machine instead of a human. But before we finish today, I want to leave you with a different way to look at this whole process.
Right, because it is easy to view an AI interview as just a cold, mechanical hurdle you have to survive.
Exactly. But think about what this preparation actually requires from you. To beat the AI, you have to organize your thoughts perfectly. You have to understand your own history flawlessly. You have to strip away vague buzzwords and communicate with pure, undeniable logic.
That is a very high standard of communication.
It is. Preparing for an AI interview forces you to organize your brain. It makes you a sharper, clearer communicator. So here is the question to ponder. Could training to satisfy a machine's logical algorithms actually be the exact thing that makes you a vastly better human employee? Keep that in mind the next time you face the webcam. Know your story, build your case, and speak with clarity.